For Rosgeados, Rene is not a flamenco player, although he's obviously very observant and has a virtuosic knowledge. I have some experience accompanying dancers, playing a couple short pieces. I will concede now that there are limits to my Rosgeado knowledge, but I do think I have some information that I think is important. One thing to keep in mind is that the setup of a flamenco guitar, which I am currently playing a Conde Hermanos, is very different. The strings are a lot lower, that's one thing. There's a different scale length. There's just a lot of things that make it feel different physically and make it sound differently. Now, I can take my relatively Spanish style sounding Stephen Caicos built classical guitar and make it sound pretty flamenco. I cannot do that with my more Hauser German sounding Chris Carrington guitar with the cutaway that I'll show in a minute. So one thing to keep in mind is that in order to get a flamenco sound, you're either going to have a classical guitar that can sound close, or you're just not going to be able to really do it very well. If you can get your classical guitar to sound flamenco, you're often going to have to use more muscle because of the way the guitar is built and the way it's set up and the sound it's designed to get. I would keep in mind that depending on the type of Rosgeado you're doing, there's going to be some engagement, so where you line everything up so that the tendons are running, especially for these kind of Rosgeados that are very finger driven. There's also going to be a little bit of forearm rotation. Part of it is adding some, and there's going to be some elbow. It's going to be almost invisible, but it's going to add some volume, and it's also going to have, it's going to have two effects. It's going to add some volume, and it's also going to have that shocks on the bike effect. If you try to do the abanico or any sort of twisty Rosgeado while keeping the forearm stiff and just doing fingers, you can try it. Try to keep the forearm from rotating, but doing it all fingered. You're going to feel a lot of tension in your forearm, whereas if you just let the forearm rotate just almost invisibly, it's kind of like shocks on a bike. It just absorbs some of that impact with the Rosgeados. Wrist engagement and alignment. There's also kind of a lighter Rosgeado. There's where you get that real snap. And then there's sort of a strummier, lighter Rosgeado for like Baroque guitar and things like that you want to be mindful of. And that's going to be, how hard you slam into the strings and also how far back you go. I'm working on a Corbetta piece that I'm going to need to be able to do that actually. And then the other thing I'd say is that Scott Tennant's chapter on Rosgeados is pretty good. There's a lot of good patterns in there. My only kind of objection to that is I think you need the rhythms. In addition to probably wanting a flamenco guitar, you're going to want think of it like this, right? If to get an authentic flamenco sound, the sound you're trying to get is going to influence your technique because your body moves differently when it gets different sounds. And we just demonstrated that. If you want to do that more Baroque style Rosgeado, you're going to move a little differently. If you want to get flamenco, you're going to move differently to get a flamenco sound, even with a flamenco guitar. So I'm going to do some of the main Rosgeados with the main palos or dance forms. So this is tangos. There's also the spinning one. There's a couple different versions of that. The one I do is Scott Tennant's book where it's thumb. There is, I think there's one too where you go like, I don't remember the abanico for that. Don't listen to me on that one. There's bulerías, which is one finger. That can get really fast. claim to have a very good bullerias. There's also solea, which is, there's a couple patterns. There's A-M-I-I, so. I'm really rough today. Do I-A-M, I-A-I-C-A-M. And then there is A-M-I or C-A-M-I. Although the way I'm doing it is not very flamenco. I would watch the way. I would refer you to dive deeper into Rosgeados to get a copy of and the videos for Juan Martin, his book Essential Flamenco Guitar, Part 1 and 2. I'd observe him and listen to him. That's actually what I'm working through right now to develop my flamenco. I think I'm giving a good starting point in this video, but I would not look to my sound, my rhythm, my articulation, or my technique for anything related to this. Although the patterns I'm showing you and the palos I'm showing you and the chord progressions, that's good information. So, you know, if you kind of want to develop your Rosgeo, even if you're just trying to develop your Rosgeo to, you know, work your extensors and aid your classical technique, these 4 different palos and patterns I showed you are all good. They're the right ones. You're going to use those Rosgeados 90% of the time in flamenco. You're going to play those dance forms a bunch in flamenco. Just my demonstration of the technique is not good today. Partly I'm not warmed up, and partly I'm at best a flamenco player. And that's pretty much it. Oh, there's one more. Sometimes you can just strum. Thumb up. Middle finger and ring finger down. So like if you're gonna do it'd be like a rumba. And again, that's thumb up, middle and ring down.